Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Mega Man Cave. Sometimes, when we scour the internet, we come across things that blow our mind, scare us half to death, or are just plain strange. These things create some interesting topics for conversation, whether for a good reason or bad. These moments can be experienced through a wide variety of mediums, ranging from TV to movies to, you guessed it, video games. I was inspired by one of my favorite YouTube channels, Nexpo, to start a video series where I explore some of the strangest video game related content I can find while perusing the web. Today, we explore 5 small gaming topics that are not quite long enough to encompass a whole video, but certainly interesting enough to share. Welcome to Strange Gaming Stories from the Internet. The first thing I normally think of when I hear of Animal Crossing is cute, cheeky, and fun. I mean, heck, my wife plays Animal Crossing and she hasn't cared for a video game since The Sims. The Nintendo staple is responsible for one of the highest record sales of all time, and its games reach an extremely large audience. I hadn't played an Animal Crossing game until the 3DS, so I was relatively unfamiliar with the original title on the GameCube. But after a late-night Reddit surf, I was presented with one of the most unsettling stories I've ever seen in such a tame game. First released in 2001, the original Animal Crossing is one of the most charming games to ever exist in my opinion. There's no real objective, no real purpose, just to build up your surroundings and prosper from the fruits of your work, all while admiring the endearing characters and cutesy environments. It's certainly not a game for the objective-minded, but has found its home inside the hearts of many hardcore and casual gamers alike. Prior to the ease of New Horizons, where visiting another gamer's island is as easy as obtaining a friend code, back in the GameCube days, Nintendo created a feature that allowed for the same thing, with a twist. By putting a friend's memory card in the second slot, Animal Crossing allowed the player to take a train ride over to their island, creating an interesting dynamic from a social perspective. In a time when internet gaming was still in its infancy, this allowed for friends to play together in a way, and it was pretty cool to see the differences between you and your friends' islands. One thing that may come across as jarring in this mode is the sheer amount of warnings you are given about not turning off the game when visiting other towns. Well, because if you do, or try to reset the game when in another town, you will lose all of your money and belongings, and your villager's face will be replaced with, this. Holy heck, that's terrifying. So what's with the glitch? Well, in fact, this is not a glitch at all. For anyone that's familiar enough with Nintendo, you know how much they hate cheaters and hacks. There have been plenty of stories over the years of the company suing or punishing these individuals. This is exactly what the company was attempting to thwart with the Gyroid face debacle. By emblazoning this face upon your character, they were making an attempt to prevent gamers from resetting the game in order to cheat, or continue on in the new town even after the memory card was removed. Called soft resetting, there are many times when I have used this exploit in games like Pokemon, but Nintendo took some extra steps here because of the implications of performing this trick. To make matters worse, you lose all of your money and belongings that you took with you, and upon returning to your town, recently acquired villagers may even cease to exist. But why a gyroid face? Those sunken-in eyes and permanent gaping mouth are downright terrifying. It would probably give my younger self nightmares. Like, imagine if you had this happen to you by accident when you were playing Animal Crossing years ago. Say your friend came over and you wanted to visit his town. The power goes out in the middle of your endeavor and your friend leaves for the day. You boot up Animal Crossing later that night to continue your journey and BAM! Nightmare fuel. There are also some other theories out there for what the gyroid face is to represent. My favorite is a comment I read when doing research for the video, in which the gyroid face is a representation of your soul leaving the body, and exposes the true reality of the game itself. You have actually been dead the whole time. Kinda like in Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis. The various letters you get while in your town are sent by your mother who is visiting your grave, and the animals in your town are all your imaginary friends or stuffed animals from childhood. Yeah, that's depressing. The best thing I can get out of this is always save your dang game. Have you ever played a game so long that your parents force you to leave the house? I know many of us have pulled all-night gaming sessions with friends, exhausting yourself to the maximum possible limit to where the drive home just seems so daunting. In fact, I remember I took a vacation the week Skyrim came out and clocked 110 hours in 7 days, before I needed another vacation to recover, and a shower. Some games even go as far as to remind you to go outside or to hang up the progress for a bit. Well, a kid in Russia most likely has any of your records beat. He was fixated with playing Defense of the Ancients so much that he died after reportedly playing it for 22 days straight. To make matters even more poetic, the 17-year-old, who had broken his leg and was bored at home, saw his character die on screen moments before he passed away at home. The teen, known only as Rustam, was playing the game DoTA almost continuously, only stopping to sleep and eat. Investigators stated that the addicted gamer spent more than 2,000 hours playing the game in the last year and a half. It's a schedule which works out to about 6.5 hours a day, for 365 days a year, culminating in the intensive, almost non-stop sessions over 22 days leading to his death. That's more than a full-time job if you count the weekends. His parents mentioned that they normally heard him pounding at his keyboard until the wee hours of the morning, but on August 30th, everything went silent, prompting them to investigate further. Doctors believe he could have died from thrombosis from not moving around in pretty much 22 days. Kind of reminiscent on if you have ever been on a long flight. A police spokeswoman, Svetlana Abramova, confirmed in the last 22 days it is suspected that he played the game almost all the time, stopping only to take a nap and to grab a snack. Since August 8th, he had a broken leg. He had spent all of his time at home playing computer games. Medical experts even explained what could have happened. People can suffer from such problems during long flights when they're forced to sit. The boy presumably died from thrombosis. They're appearing in about 50% of cases when people have fractures. Rustam was literally killing himself all day sitting there, every day, to play the game. Something so addicting, it ended up killing him in the end. Problems with video games become bigger if parents do not take care enough of their children. Honestly, as much of a problem as his video game addiction was, the fact that his parents didn't do a better job of checking up on him is really sad. As a father myself, I can't imagine how bad of a parent you'd have to be to let your kid go unchecked for 3 weeks. Similar stories are spread across the internet, including a man who collapsed after a 72-hour gaming binge in an internet cafe, as well as a man who drunk himself to death while binging WoW almost a decade ago. However, the fact that this was a kid, coupled with his broken leg rendering him stuck in his room anyway, makes this all the more depressing. Reddit can be a magical place, filled with unending tidbits of knowledge and bottomless rabbit holes. In fact, it's one of the main sources I use when digging up new content for videos. However, occasionally we all come across a commenter on a thread who annoys us, trolls us, or leaves downright mindless comments. This is the disturbing yet sad story of yayvideogames, a Redditor who literally devolved into madness right before our very eyes. On September 8th, 2010, a Reddit thread posted by I Wish I Was a Meme asked users to list some of their favorite Oblivion mods. Pretty harmless. In the comments, user yayvideogames posted, "The uninstall button. This game is great and all that, but god, it is hard to fully remove all the junk it leaves behind on your system. You really need to check out that mod when the time comes to get rid of it. Otherwise, I think Oscuro's Oblivion overhaul is a nice start." After another user pressed yayvideogames to further explain what he meant, he went on to write, "The uninstall button. The game is great. Ubisoft goes Steamworks bye-bye always on DRM. But you oft go work, always on work DR. Check out the junk it leaves behind in you." Yayvideogames then spammed the thread with variations on the phrase Ubisoft goes Steamworks bye-bye always on DRM. What started as an innocent conversation about Oblivion mods turned into thousands of comments spewing meaningless iterations of the same statement over and over again. About 4,000 times to be exact. For those of you who don't know, always on DRM basically means that prior to moving over to Steamworks, Ubisoft games required an internet connection to play on PC. Apparently, this transition was so important to yayvideogames that he literally went crazy over it. In addition to the plethora of strange comments posted, he started using disturbing imagery to complement his descent into madness. Eventually, his delusional tirade led to his banning from the website, never to be heard from again. Or was it? Unfortunately, the deeper we go into this story, the more upsetting it becomes. According to a small subreddit dedicated to yayvideogames, the Redditor's real name was Lyndon, and he suffered from chronic fatigue syndrome, a disease that caused people to literally become house-ridden for months to years at a time. The amount of research done on Lyndon's account is incredible, eventually linking one of his alt profiles to a Luke McLeish, his best friend, quote-unquote, that he used to make music with in high school. Luke, changing his name later to Frisson, was a member of a band called Jack the Stripper who toured around Melbourne. After being contacted by one of the subreddit moderators, Luke unveiled information about his friend, including his name, prognosis, and even pictures. Lyndon's chronic fatigue syndrome was so debilitating it caused him to relapse into episodes of apparent psychosis, and eventually led to him killing himself in 2015. What started out as a strange Reddit comment led to the death of an unfortunately diseased individual. Truly sad. Rest in peace, Lyndon. May Ubisoft always be off DRM. We've all experienced our own shade of gaming rage. Whether you're at that one part of Dark Souls for the millionth time and you can see where your souls are at, and right before you retrieve them, a skeleton stabs you from behind. Damn it all! The worst kind of gamer rage is experienced when playing with another person or group of people. There's nothing worse than getting shellacked repeatedly in a game like Smash and not wanting to rip somebody's throat out in frustration. Adrenaline and endorphins are pumping, blood pressure is rising, and your palms are sweating, waiting for that moment of triumph, and it just never happens. Oh, am I the only one? I guess I just suck at fighting games. This next story is reminiscent of a rage trip that ended up a little bloodier than most. A 16-year-old gamer by the name of Xiao Wei was attacked when he fell out with a gang of thugs in an internet cafe he worked at in Mishazi, northeast China. He reportedly demolished everybody and their brother at his favorite game, Counter-Strike. He was left with a 10-inch razor-sharp kitchen knife plunged through his left temple and the half-inch tip of the blade emerging from his right temple. Ugh. Pal Huang Xuan says that he and Wei were attacked when a local gang tried to force Wei to load some unauthorized software onto the cafe's computers after losing a tragic amount of games of Counter-Strike. When he refused, one of the gang members took matters into his own hands and left Wei for dead. Amazed medics watched him stagger into the casualty unit at the second affiliated hospital of Jilin University, being held up by his pals. But surgeons, who took 2 hours to remove the blade, said Wei would likely fully recover, and to my knowledge is perfectly fine today. Kinda weird, but just goes to show you the amount of rage and frustration that people can have over such a silly thing as a video game. It lessens my hope on humanity. Our last and quickest story comes from a Kotaku article I read about a week ago that downright terrified me. I'm no stranger to the Persona series. Their games have always intrigued me and provided some of the most unique gameplay that an RPG can muster. Although I am relatively familiar with the later games, the Japanese exclusive Shin Megami Tensei on the Super Famicom is a title that has eluded me over the years. The franchise's third installment takes place in modern-day Japan in a post-apocalyptic setting. The game eventually tasks the player with visiting a theme park known as Tokyo Destinyland, which kinda sounds like Tokyo Disneyland, the overseas version of the popular American attraction that opened in Japan in 1983. So, it seems when you're going through it that this is just another dungeon with dopey NPCs and random battles with various monsters. However, In 2018, fans did a little more digging into the game's code and found some undiscovered secrets. You know those iconic characters, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck? Kinda seems similar to Disneyland to me. But what they found were demonic versions of these iconic Disney characters wielding dual swords and chainsaws. I don't know why this image is so creepy to me, but it really just goes to show you that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And trust me, I don't want any of them haunting my dreams tonight. Nobody really knows why these characters existed, but it was noticed in a Tumblr blog that this isn't the first time we've seen these individual characters. In the Digital Devil Saga 10th Anniversary art book, released in 1997, these same figures appear, and in shockingly similar detail. Obviously, they put a lot of work into these sprites, but nobody really understands what happened here. Eventually, when the game was ported over to the PC Engine, it looks like you kinda got that Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse vibe with Zombie Mouse and Demon Duck. While these aren't exactly the same things as the sprites we found originally, it still is creepy. Kinda makes you wonder what their original plan was for these characters. I hope you all have enjoyed the video today of strange gaming stories from the internet. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing, smashing the heck out of that like button, and enabling notifications so that my videos can jump to the top of your list. If you have ideas for strange gaming topics I could cover, please leave them in the comments below or send them to either my Twitter inbox or themegamancave@gmail.com. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.